These are the lessons for discrete probability distribution. These are the most common probability distributions for discrete random variables. So we have five. The first one is uniform distribution. The next one is Bernoulli distribution. The third one is binomial distribution. The fourth one is hypergeometric distribution. And we have the Poisson distribution. So, unahin natin yung uniform distribution. So, these are the things we need to know about uniform distribution. So, number one is the definition of uniform distribution. It is a probability distribution when the values of the random variables have equal probabilities. Okay? So, from the word uniform, dapat pare-parehas. At ang sinasabing uniform o pare-parehas sa distribution ay yung probabilities. So, ibig sabihin, magkakaiba yung value ng x. For example, x is equals to 1, 2, or 3. Pero, ang probability nila ay pare-parehas. So, halimbawa, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So, lahat sila pare-parehas ng probabilities. They are uniform distribution. Okay. The next thing we need to know is how are we going to compute for the probability of any outcome. So madali lang to. It is computed by this formula. So probability of any outcome is equal to 1 over n. So ang n na tinutukoy natin is the total number of outcomes. And then x is the value or the outcome. So for example, on this distribution, so ang n natin is equals to 3 kasi we have 3 total outcomes. And then the value of x, of course, is 1, 2, and 3. So kahit alin dyan na outcome, ang kuhanan natin ng probability, pare-pares lang naman yung magiging sagot, which is 1/3. So probability of any value is 1/3 kasi 1 over n. Okay? Next, the next thing we need to know is how are we going to compute for the mean, variance, and standard deviation of uniform distribution. So we have the following formula specific for uniform distribution. For the mean, we have the formula mu is equals to n plus 1 divided by 2. So n is the total number of outcome. Next, for the variance, the formula is sigma squared is equal to n squared minus 1 all over 12. And then, of course, that standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So this is sigma squared variance. This is sigma standard deviation. Next, one property of uniform distribution is the uniformity of the histogram. So the histogram of uniform distribution is a set of rectangles with equal heights. Bakit siya equal heights? Kasi pare-pares lang yung probabilities. Eh di ba pagdating sa histogram, yung probabilities denotes the height of each rectangle or bar. Kaya katulad nito, ito ay histogram ng isang uniform distribution kasi pantay-pantay lahat yung rectangles and that is the probability. So these are the things we need to know under uniform distribution. Let's have examples. Example number 1, when a fair die is thrown, the possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So katulad ng illustration na to, so we have a die, anim ang faces niyan. So sa bawat face, may isang value. So it comprises of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 dots. Okay? Since there are 6 outcomes, the probability of any outcome is 1 over n. So ang n natin dito ay 6. So apply lang natin 1 over 6 That is the probability of any outcome. Okay, so we have probability of 1 hanggang probability of 6, pare-pareha silang 1/6. Kasi uniform distribution sila. Now, pagdating sa histogram, so we all know na dapat pantay-pantay yung rectangle nila. So probability ng 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, pantay-pantay lahat sila sa 1/6. Okay? Now, if we're going to compute for the mean, variance, and standard deviation, ang kailangan lang natin is yung value ng n. So we need to substitute 6 plus 1 divided by 2. That is 7/2. Or in decimal, that is 3.5. So that is the value of the mean. For the variance, so we have 6 squared minus 1 all over 12. We have 36 minus 1 all over 12. This is 35/12. Or in decimal, 2.9167. And then, the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So, square root of 2.9167 is 1.7078 or 1.71. Another example of uniform distribution is like this. A spinner is divided into 4 sections. So each sections have value 1, 2, 3, and 4. So katulad nitong illustration na to, we have a spinner with 4 equal sections and each section may different values. So that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Since there are 4 outcomes, the probability of each value will be computed as 1/4. So we all know that this is 1 over n and our n is equals to 4. So that's why probability of any value is 1/4. Kaya probability ng 1, 2, 3, and 4, pare-parehas silang 1/4. They are uniform distribution. Then, if we're going to create or construct the histogram of this, apat na value na ang probability ay pantay-pantay lahat sa 1/4. So they are rectangles with equal heights. Now, compute for the mean, variance, and standard deviation. Again, ang kailangan lang dito is yung value ng n, which is the total number of outcome. So, let's substitute for the mean. We have 4 plus 1 divided by 2. That is 5/2. And that is 2.5. So that is the mean. For the variance, we have 4 squared minus 1 all over 12. This is 16 minus 1 over 12. That is 15 divided by 12. Or in decimals, is 1.25. Next, standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So we have the square root of 1.25. We have 1.1180 or 1.12. Now, let's proceed to another example. So, find the mean, variance, and standard deviation of the following discrete uniform distribution. So, given na tayo ng table na nakalagay na lahat ng probabilities na pare-parehas kasi uniform distribution. So, what we're going to do is just compute for the mean, variance, and standard deviation. So, let's identify n. N is equals to 5 because we have 5 total values or outcomes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's substitute 5 for n to compute for mean, variance, and standard deviation. So for the mean, this will be 5 plus 1 divided by 2. This is 6 divided by 2. The answer is 3. For the variance, this will be 5 squared minus 1 divided by 12. This is 25 minus 1 divided by 12. We have 24 divided by 12. The answer is 2. Now, for the standard deviation, that is the square root of the variance, which is square root of 2. The square root of 2 is 1.4142 or 1.41. Next, we have the last example. And again, find the mean, variance, and standard deviation of the following discrete uniform distribution. Again, given na tayo ng table. So, nakasulat na pare-parehas silang 1 over 7 yung probability nila kasi discrete uniform distribution. I-identify lang natin kung ano ang n. So, ang n natin is 7 because we have total of 7 outcomes. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Substitute lang again natin. So, for the mean, we have 7 plus 1 divided by 2. That is 8 divided by 2. The answer is 4. For the variance, we have 7 squared minus 1 divided by 12. 7 squared is 49. Minus 1 divided by 12. We have 48 divided by 12. 48 divided by 12 is 4. And then, the square root of the variance, which is square root of 4, the answer is 2.